Hey, hey, you guys. um, so I'm here with my buddy. Um, um, fuck, it's come right out of my mind. I have such a blank spot this
Charl?
morning. Mr.
Fuck.
Delaharp. I think of Mr. Delaharp, right?
That's right.
Charl and I are on men's team together, and we call each other by our last names a lot, don't we?
Yeah, we do.
And so we're got together. Charl has been commissioned. Is that
Yeah, let's go with that.
yeah, commissioned to put together some info on mental illness and suicide, right?
hmm
So tell us about some of our men. What are they doing?
There are a couple of guys that are doing a walk from Vancouver to Calgary. I think they're approaching Penticton at the moment, so they'll probably still be walking for most of August. And and they're doing it. They're fundraising for suicide prevention, and so we're just trying to fill in, add some content for social media, and yeah, that's why I'm chatting to Mr. McElwain today.
So a lot of it's not just fundraising, but also to create awareness, right?
Totally, yeah.
So both of these fellows have personal experience. We don't actually know so much about that, but they have personal experience around suicide, whether it's somebody in their family or some friends or that have taken their lives or wanted to take their lives, and so they see this as a personal cause for them, and I can just imagine, knowing them both, that they didn't. It's turned into quite an odyssey, hasn't it?
Totally. I think when they started, I think they decided to do this sort of maybe for other reasons, and they wanted to tie it into something that meant something to them, and that's how they've found this cause.
Nice.
And now everyone's sort of throwing some weight behind this and trying to turn it into something valuable.
So the fundraising is going to like a suicide prevention or awareness organization, and we'll tag that on this video later, and we'll tag we have our own Facebook page, right, for this event
I believe so.
Yeah, and and so we just did a little talk about suicide, and a lot of the folks that I think that come, because I do a live video every morning. A lot of my people would be personally aware of suicide. Either they've thought about it, or attempted it, or know somebody who's attempted it, or somebody who's done it, and in my own life, I don't think there's been a year that goes by that there hasn't been somebody I know that's taken their life. Many people I know have taken their lives, and sometimes it's not so obvious. With alcoholism and addiction, in a way, we're trying to take ourselves out.
Yeah.
We're so I'll call it unhappy with who we are, or so in dread of who we are, that when we drink or use, it kills that persona for a short time, and we can be this. We find freedom. So drinking and using is a solution for many of us when we are in the addiction. So for a lot of us, suicide's not a subject that we don't, it's not like, we all know about it, and we all have, experiences with it, but we talked earlier about family being embarrassed.
And I think I mentioned that the experiences I had around suicide were always chalked up as kind of an accident or something other than, and I only found out in later years what had actually happened. And yeah, there was a real effort on the family side to cover it up. There was a real, I guess, embarrassment. I'm not sure what it was about.
Well, and that can be like a, family, when we think that the suicide participant is generally very self-centered. Life gets very small. There's just, there doesn't look like there's many options, and the family can be also very self-centered. And so when cousin Joe commits suicide, the family sees it as a reflection on them. What did we do wrong? How did why did he do that? And we immediately make it about us.
Yeah. And how will this affect the image of us,
of the family?
Yeah.
And which is quite immature.
It's selfish.
Yeah. It's quite immature.
Yeah.
and it's quite selfish, and I think for children to imagine that everything's about them is acceptable. But as we get old, as we mature, hopefully we recognize that it's not about us. And we have in the 12-step world, in Alcoholics Anonymous in particular, there's an organization called Al-Anon, which helps the family to recognize that the mental illness of alcoholism is not their fault.
Yeah.
They didn't create it. They can't cure it. They can't. They're not to blame.
Does that put them in a place where they can be more supportive?
Oh, yes.
Because they've got all of that.
Yes.
That sort of stuff out of the way.
Way more supportive, and also less susceptible to the conjurings of the addict or the mentally ill, because sometimes the addict can use guilt and shame to manipulate their family. So it's a tricky little thing. And once we wake up to, those are the tools of the addict, who's still in the addiction, still in the mental illness, is to make, to try and manipulate us with those tools of guilt and shame and fear, and once we wake up to that, we can say, well, no, I'm not buying your game, and we can be firm with love, the addict will even threaten to take his life if you don't.
Is that right?
If you don't behave, yes. I'll show you. I'll kill me.
Yeah.
And it can work for a while, and it's kind of a hell that the family can live in.
Yeah.
Desperately trying to save the addict, and I think in our society that there's a stigma, a real stigma, and that that we don't understand mental illness. We just don't understand it. And it's not that many years ago, in time, that if we would call in a priest to do an exorcism, or
Totally.
we would think that
Get rid of demons.
Yes, the demons said, and still happens in a way. The mind of the mentally ill can even refer to what's happening as the demons have moved in. I've had that. I've woke up in the middle of the night with them, and but I've recognized that in the moment, I have the ability to call in help. I can say, and I call in love, or I call in God, or I say, please remove these. And it's all just in my mind, so we, I don't understand the mind entirely. I'm not a student of psychology, but I am a student of the solution, and I believe the solution, in a way, is love and acceptance. For families who have lost loved ones, I'm not saying for a minute that we didn't love them enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes love can be tough love. Sometimes love can be just listening, and not trying to create a solution. You know, and there's you know, I don't know the answer to that. I just know to what it looks like in each specific situation. But I know that in the world where I live, in the 12-step world, if you were in a room with 50 people who are in recovery, and you said, how many people here have ever thought about committing suicide? Everybody would raise their hand. Like, I believe in, 50 people, 49 would raise their hand. The other guy's lying. Because addicts and alcoholics and people with mental illness lie. That's, you know, because we're so afraid of being discovered or exposed. You know, we've been living a persona that we know is false, and so how do we get out from the persona to be with a group of people who are all busting out of their persona? They look around and say, oh, he's just like me.
So what does that persona look like?
Well, we do it in our men's team.
This is an image of who you think you are.
Yeah, we do it in our men's team. Say a guy comes to our men's team. It's a little different because we're not 12-step based, but we are love based. And a fella comes to our men's team and he's just broken up his relationship with his wife, and he's feeling guilt and shame. I could have done better, and I could have done that. And you know, because the image we have is that, you know, we're married for life, and we've really bought into this whole concept of marriage and raising a family, and there you are around the fire, and you see, oh, all of these guys have been divorced. Wow, I guess there is life after divorce. And hey, most of them are raising kids. Oh, I guess that I can be a single dad. And it starts to, we start to associate with a winning new persona, if you will, but it's love that is the bridge, you know. And you're like, these guys, they want me to come back.
Yeah,
they like me, and
yeah, and this person would get new perspective, right? They get out of their
but
their
it's
way
not
of looking at things.
But it's not a new perspective from reading a book.
Totally.
It's actually real life. You know, it's like, okay, so you know, yes, divorce happens, but a lot of times guys get divorced, and they really see that they failed. And they failed their marriage, they failed their children. Maybe they got, at the same time as things are going down the drain, they get, lose their job, and the solution becomes suicide.
Yeah.
They start drinking or using. Maybe they're not alcoholics or addicts, but they're hiding out in the bottle for a bit.
Yeah.
Heavy drinkers.
So that's when they've told themselves the story where they're the one that's responsible for everything, and couldn't cut it as they expected themselves to.
Reasonably self-centered.
Yeah. Totally.
But until we can find a group where we can feel connected, you know, and actually get a hug and say, okay, I see now that maybe my expectation was too much, you know, and or maybe my judgment on that relationship was too much. And sometimes relationships are healed, you know, because men start to let go of what they thought were their terms. You know, I can't believe it, that bitch slept with my brother and I'm done, you know. And maybe that wasn't the worst thing. Maybe it's like, okay, you know, because in love heals all this stuff. You know, I'm just making shit up, but you know, you know, but love does heal all this, and so how do we, you know, community can take care of community. And that's what we do in the 12-step world, and that's what we do in our men's group.
So that would be kind of the solution that you're talking about. How you help somebody out of this. But
a lot of times what we do with somebody who's experiencing mental illness is we cut them off.
Really?
Yeah. Or we put them in a place with, we don't get them into a group.
You label them as something, and you kind of
or they cut
encourage
themselves
them
off.
to sort themselves out.
Or they cut themselves off, or they separate themselves, or there isn't a place to put it. There's so much stigma with it that it's quiet.
Yeah.
Like, you look around where we are right now in our community, in Calgary, with what's happened in our economy and what's happened with the virus thing and what's going on, I'll guarantee you there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of men and women who are quietly contemplating suicide.
Yeah.
I'll guarantee it.
Yeah.
And it's the perfect storm because we're locked in our houses and so how do we get out? This is a way to get out.
Yeah.
This is a way to bring the message to people that there is hope out there.
Yeah.
And there are groups of people who understand.
And that they're not alone. That everyone is going through this stuff, right?
Yes.
Everyone is in the same boat.
Yes, many people in the same boat, feeling separate and feeling desperate. Yeah, many. It's pretty cool. So, that we just wanted to talk a little bit about that, and I think that we could go on for so long in the area of mental illness and the stigma that's created around mental illness with families and community and I think often of Robin Williams. Robin Williams, suffered, quietly and publicly with mental illness and alcoholism and addiction, and here he was the global entertainer. We loved Robin Williams, and yet, he took his life.
Yeah.
And
well, like a few years ago, someone had asked me if I could be any celebrity in the world, who would I be? I said, well, Anthony Bourdain travels around, eats awesome food, is just having a great time on his, wherever he is, meeting new people.
Would seem,
it's the ultimate. Like, can it get any better than that? And then sort of seeing him take his life and the whole backstory and the depression, it was. I wouldn't have thought that at all. That would be like the ultimate to me. Well, what he had. So.
Yeah. So it is kind of quietly there for many of us, again, the solution for many of us is to reach out. If somebody in your life is in that situation, you think close to that situation, get in touch, call them repeatedly, and just to say how you doing and listen, and you're reaching out. I think all of us should have a list of people we call once a week.
Do you do that?
Yes. Yeah, I have
I know.
a big list.
You got a big list. Okay, I'll make some calls too.
Yes, just to say how you doing, and listen, and sometimes we don't need to have solutions. Often we don't need solutions. We just need to listen.
Yeah.
And people will talk about what's happening in their lives if they trust us, and the trust grows. It might not be the first call or the second call, but the third call, they're like, "Wow, I'm glad you called," and it's coming down tough, and we don't have to have solutions for whether they can pay the rent or not, or whether she's coming back or not, or whether they'll get to raise their kids or not. No, those are, just to be there and love them through that, and gives them strength. Love is the power. It is.
It's a good one.
Yeah, love is the power, and love is an action word. It's a verb. It's a noun as well, but it's a verb. It's a and it's one of those. We show our love. So that's especially in this time. When look at this guy. My backyard is full of birds, and we have a magpie that's getting, coming in for a real look.
That's right.
Feels the love. So that's it. It recognized that mental illness, although it's kind of a hard to describe where we cross the line into mental illness and not. I think we're all crazy at one level. We all have, extreme neurosis, that's for sure. Our idea of how life should be, our judgment on life, our complaint about life, our living in right and wrong and good and bad. So we can recognize that's there and kind of surrender it. That's a beautiful thing. And then it can go from neurosis into kind of psychosis, into the extreme. But people come back. They do. And love is what brings them back. I mean, medication can stabilize, but eventually, it's a love and community that builds the long-term container for people to have longer lives and to know peace.
I like it.
All right, you guys. That's it. Love you. We just thought we'd share a little bit of this. Thank you, Mr. Delaharpe, for coming down and sharing with us.
Thanks, Mr. McElwain.
I'm going to come and click that little button there. Okay, talk to you soon.